Check. Good. So I'm Max Ceron. Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest. Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. Thank you again for coming to spend some time with us and our special guests that we always have on the show. We always have lots of fun. Today we have Jenna Nowicki coming to us from the beautiful province of Manitoba. So Jenna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm cold, and we were talking about our shared coldness. I'm in Saskatchewan, you're in Manitoba. We're like the basin of the country here. And I'm sitting at minus 25 with the wind chill of minus 41. What do you got? What do you got going on there today?
I think I know it's hitting minus 32 tomorrow for sure, or something like that. So it's probably not far off today, but I try not to even look. It's cold, man. Like the number just makes it hurt more. So,
well, it's I have lots of American followers and listeners, and like the entire world is metric except for the United States for some reason.
yeah.
So when I'm talking to them, they talk in Fahrenheit, and I grew up metric like 100%. I only learned imperial when I started welding because like some of the prints and stuff that come in are in imperial. It's not called imperial anymore now. It's called U.S. customary because it's only the United States left on it.
Yeah.
But if someone says to me like 32 Fahrenheit or 14 Fahrenheit or 10, like, does that mean anything to you?
No, I got to do the Google calculator.
Yeah. I have no idea. I just know
But
that.
I am better in inches than centimeters. Like if someone's like, oh, it's like 140 centimeters. I'm like, dude, just give me inches, man. Like, come on. Why you got to be like that? Like,
that's true until you have to divide it.
true.
Right.
Well, I go with my fractions, so I'll just
right, because that's what I always said to students too. We'd always get lots of students when I was teaching. They'd be like, "I'm way better at imperial." It's like, "Oh yeah, cool. So like you got a foot? Yeah, I got a foot. Divide that by 4." And they're like, okay. Now what's like 20 divided by 5? Like, centimeters is easier to divide because they're whole numbers.
Yeah.
Imperial, you got to know fractions, which you can get really good at, but it's a debate either way. I think the world should just go metric, like just once and for all, like the universe.
Yeah, just do it all the same.
Yeah, let's just be on the same page.
Yeah.
So you're in Winnipeg right now. Am I correct? Am I right?
Yeah, I'm in Winnipeg.
You live in Winnipeg? Were you born in Winnipeg? You come from Winnipeg? You ended up in Winnipeg?
I'm born, raised. I live just outside north of the city and it's called East St. Paul, Birds Hill kind of area. And then my dad grew up in Transcona as well, which anybody from Winnipeg would be like, oh, trash Kona. So
I got lots of friends from
Winnipeg
Transcona.
listeners, but that's my end of the city before. But now I'm in the west end of the city, which is very new to me. So it's very different. It's a small city, but the east and the west side are different. So
well, and the interesting thing is that Winnipeg isn't that small of a city. It's almost like people in Winnipeg are always like it's big. It's as big as Calgary.
yeah, I guess.
Right?
It feels small.
It's bigger than Edmonton. Right, like and it's like 5 times bigger than Regina. Like Regina's a small.
To be fair, Regina's small. You drive through it and you're like, huh, all right.
That's like a neighborhood, right?
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, no, I dig Winnipeg. I always thought it would be like one of the cities that I would move to if I ever thought about moving to another city somewhere, but I haven't left Regina.
Say if you like the arts, come to Winnipeg. Winnipeg is full of the arts, music, and yeah.
And that's how I fell in love with Winnipeg. When I was young, I was in a heavy metal band, and we used to play in Winnipeg at the Osborne Village Inn, which is now I think gone. I don't know if
the
zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still there
gone
anymore.
now. It is gone.
Oh. And then we used to play at a place called Charlie's or something like that, or
don't know that one.
It was in St. James. I think that's a neighborhood there. Yeah. Good time.
Yeah, that's my area right now, St. James. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so Jenna, we're gonna, obviously there's a welding show. We've talked to zero about welding. We're just having fun here, but you grew up in Winnipeg, and Winnipeg actually has, I know, a lot of really, really good trades programs, trades colleges of all
Mhm.
types. Lots of
Yeah.
great stuff comes out of the province of Manitoba. As a kid growing up, were you kind of like working with your hands? You were into the trades, or did you have kind of
Mm,
another dream as a kid growing up of what you wanted to be?
I wanted and still want to be a high school teacher. I wanted to teach English and history, but Winnipeg also has a very good teachers program, and we pump out teachers like there's nobody's business at the U of W. And my parents basically told me, in the nicest way, there's no way you're going to school for 5 years to not get a job, because I have a lot of friends that became teachers and they're kind of, well, since the pandemic, they're very much in need. But before the pandemic, it was a lot of substitute here and there. It's very hard to get a full-time job. So they
Hmm.
kind of were like, put that one aside. It's not going to happen. And my mom's a nurse and she really wanted me to be a nurse. And it just kind of seemed like the thing to do. I also went to a high school that had, it was basically like advanced placement, but it's called IB. It's an international program and it's just advanced. And so trades were not really talked about. Like that wasn't really an
Hmm.
option in that school. Like that's not why you would be at that school. So there was two other high schools kind of like right in the neighborhood, and they both had like auto programs, welding programs, all of that. And our school just, it was more like you're going to university after. So that like wasn't an option. So I took a year of nursing and I was like, no, like this is just not me. I can't do this. I was actually an EMR in on the oil rigs in Saskatchewan, out near like Estevan a lot and stuff.
Hmm.
And I really liked that. Like ish. There wasn't a lot. Like you sit there
Hmm.
for 12 hours and like no one really gets hurt. It is very safe these days. So like, but it was like that was kind of exciting. But being a nurse, I was like this is not me. So
I
I
totally understand that. Like I
Yeah, and
cannot.
I think I heard you and Ray talk about that too, where they're different. Like being in an ambulance and being a nurse are different jobs, like
Hmm. Hmm.
entirely. And some are made for that one, and yeah, I was not. It
I
takes a
don't think I
special
could do
person.
anything healthcare, man. I just couldn't do it.
No.
Like, just
And
too.
honestly, and I floated in that area for a long time. My sister's a massage therapist, so she got me a job at her clinic as like the secretary. I took a reflexology course, and I was a reflexology therapist for a while. And I kind of just kept staying in healthcare ish, like kind of white collar stuff. And then I just ended up like working retail, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And um, there was two girls I worked with. I worked at a hairstyling store, a hair product store.
Hmm.
My hair is purple and blue. It is my one true love. But
My hair's in really
uh,
good shape too. Look at how long it is.
I love it. Do you take care of it? Do you use product or you just let it do its thing?
No, I take really good care of my hair. I'm like
Yeah.
46. I'm terrified of losing my hair. So I
Yeah.
buy only like name brand stuff, good stuff. I've
Yeah.
actually found like my favorite conditioner, which is like a hemp seed and castor oil organic conditioner that works so good for my hair. Like it detangles itself magically. Like,
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have Sally's where you are, but I worked at a
hmm,
Sally's beauty.
hmm,
And there was two girls there, and one had been a welder before, and she would like talk about it here and there, but she was really cool, and like I was not that cool. And so I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. And like she did like bodybuilding and stuff, like she was so cool. And then this other girl, she had nothing to do with welding, but she had taken this government program that it got women into trades, and she was like, oh, I don't know, it's called like trade up your future or something like that. And I was like, oh. And then Chelsea's like, well, you could use that to do welding. And I was like so broke, and I was working retail, and I was like this is going to take me nowhere, like I need something.
hmm.
So it was kind of just out of desperation that I picked a trade. Like I never saw myself going there.
It's an interesting thing that you just brought up, and I kind of want to talk about it because this is something that's kind of been around my life in general with trades. Is that we all can look at a tradesperson, and I think society in general looks at tradespeople as like that's rad, like that's cool, like
Yeah.
they're tough, they're smart, they make good money, they work all over the place, they do all this cool stuff, but
Yeah.
then we don't think about it as a job choice. Like
Yeah.
there's a disconnect between being like, oh, that's rad, like that's
Yeah.
super cool job,
Yeah.
to I should tell my kids to do that for a living. It's like, no, 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 don't do that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I don't know what the disconnect is there, because I had a student once tell me that welders are the hockey players of the trades. We go to work, we get dirty, we get ugly, but then we leave work and we have a nice car, we have a nice house, we wear nice clothes,
Yeah.
we care about that stuff. We're like the hockey players of the trades. And I always thought about that. I'm like, so why can't we sell this trade? Why
Yeah.
can't we have more people signing up? A statistic, I was in a meeting yesterday, 2% of high schoolers said that they would be interested in welding.
Really.
2%. Like, what are we doing wrong? We got to fix this.
Because
Like,
it's not sold. Like it's not
yeah.
sold in school as an option. Like it was like you would do that if you had no options. Like that's how trades were sold when
Hmm.
I was in high school. And it was just like no one talked about that. Like, oh, I'm gonna go out and be like, yeah, like a drywaller, or I'm gonna go work in construction. Or it was like, oh, they're working in construction. Like that's
What
too
did you do
bad.
wrong? Yeah, what did
Yeah,
you
like what did
screw
they
up?
do? I guess they didn't do good at school. Like, and you're just like, no, actually, it takes some brains to do those jobs. Like you know,
Yeah. Well,
like
100%. And especially if you want, like, the trade. Like, I mean, there's people like the guys who own these companies, they're like multimillionaires, and we're like,
yeah,
wow, that's a crappy job. What are you talking about?
yeah, yeah,
So you were kind of bouncing around, and I really dig the teaching thing, because like I wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid, ended up in the trades, thought that dream was over, and then ended up being a teacher. So like
yeah,
it came around, and I was like super pumped that I was able to get to where I wanted, kind of by accident.
yeah.
My daughter's a teacher. She just graduated, 5-year
Nice.
teaching degree. She's a music teacher, so that's very niche, but
Yeah,
I think she'll find a job. Like, well, she's subbing right now, but
that's
hopefully she gets a
good.
permanent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now for you, you're kind of bouncing around. You did you end up taking one of those like government programs, or how
yes,
did you how did you dip your
yeah.
toes
Like
into it?
so, the girl Jasmine that told me about the trade up your future, I think it was called. She was like, oh, you should go and check it out, and um, I literally was like bussing downtown to like because I don't think I had a car at the time, and I was bussing downtown to this kind of sketchy location to like go in and like talk to these people and try and convince them why they should pay for my schooling to like go pick a program. And there was like a list to pick from, like even though culinary and esthetician and hairstyling were considered trades on the list, like they kind of didn't want you to pick those ones. They were like, you kind of should pick like electrician or plumber or whatever. And then they were kind of grilling me on like why I wanted to be a welder. And I was like, I don't know, because I need money. Like because I need a future. I need a job that's gonna pay me. Like I didn't
Hmm.
even know what welders made. I just knew it was better than minimum wage. Like I was like, anything's better than this. So
Hmm.
yeah, so they set me up with a school called MITT, Manitoba Institute of Trades and Technology. And I think it was only because the waiting list for Red River at the time was too long, which is kind of the bigger college in Winnipeg.
Hmm.
So yeah, I went to MITT. I graduated valedictorian of the college.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is my third time being valedictorian. I got my trifecta.
Holy, I don't know if anyone
Mhm.
else on this show has ever had that
I
crown. So,
know that's my small brag.
do you got like a tattoo about it or something?
I
Like triple
should,
crown?
like,
You get a triple
across my
crown?
back, like,
There you
three-time
go.
valedictorian. Yeah.
Man, I like they like kicked me out of high school, and university was a gong show, and I skipped trade school and just challenged the test. So I'm like the opposite of a valedictorian. You're gonna have my job someday. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people were shocked I picked welding because, like, I think I even remember telling a friend's dad, like, "Oh, I'm going into welding," and they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, like, I'm gonna be a welder," and they're like, "Wouldn't you rather, like, work up front in the office?" And I was like, "No," and they're like,
Hard no.
"Oh, okay, like, that's weird," and I was like, "No, like, whatever," but yeah, I don't know, like, a lot of people were shocked because 'cause they're like, "Yeah, you were this bookie person," and I don't know.
It's such a weird stigma, and like, I mean, on a certain level, I'm like sick of it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? I'm like sick of it. It's like, why do we have to talk about something that's just like so dumb? Like what you know, like why is not every job site like 50-50 women? And why is not every
Yeah.
manager SLT 50-50? Like I mean, our population is 50-50, and I get that it's like 1,000 years of,
But
you
you know what?
know,
Nursing, out of
yeah,
a
yeah,
100 women, 5 guys. So it
yeah,
was like
admin
the
assistant,
opposite.
front
Yeah.
office, all women. Like I have a buddy who's an office administrator, went to school for office admin, and
Yeah.
he had trouble finding a job as a guy working the front office, and he got told that we're looking for someone prettier. Like he got told that
Yeah.
on job interviews. Like we need someone prettier at the front. And it's
Yeah.
like, and I mean,
It's
I'm
like
not
he could be
saying like
amazing at his job. Like
yeah, yeah,
he
but
could totally improve your business, but you're worried that someone won't walk in and see a pretty girl and be like, "Oh, it's some guy." It's like he's probably great. Like, yeah,
yeah. So I
it
mean,
works both ways. But
yeah,
yeah.
there's a level of it that's, and it really doesn't go both ways. Like it's a one
Well,
ten
to be
towards
fair,
men. Like
yes,
yeah,
but yeah,
99.9% towards women, but and then like add being like an indigenous woman or a
yes,
black woman or a
yeah.
person of color and a woman, like then they stack. Like good luck,
I
that
did
gets
work with
harder and harder.
I did work with an indigenous girl. She just came out of school and I hired her and I was like, because I was a manager for a while at a place, and I
Hmm.
was like, I am so excited to hire you, girl. Like I'm sure you would have gotten a job anywhere, but like I'm so excited you're on my team. And like it was like 2 girls and 1 guy on this team. It was a great team, like for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a good
So,
worker.
how was the school journey? You went into school, you have a grant, and there's a lot of strings attached to grants. It's not like
Mhm.
people always think that a grant is just like, oh, here's some free money. Like there's,
Yeah.
there's things that you got, hoops you got to jump through.
Yeah.
How did you like school when you showed up? Like, were you the only girl in your class? Was there any issues, or did it go all
Um,
right?
the way the school worked, they kind of came in every half year. So there had been a girl there for like already half a year. So I kind of came in with her, and I think another girl had actually left at that time. So there was
Mhm,
kind of 2 of us at a time all the time. She was a great girl. She was just a couple years younger than me. We still keep in touch. Recently, I was looking for work, and she was like, "Oh, I'll put in a word for you," and I was like, "Thank you." And
mhm,
so, but when I first started school, it was good. I was a bit older than most of the people in the class. I think I was 26. And most of the people were like 19, 20.
mhm.
And that's not a huge jump, but like it
It's
kind of is
enough.
at the same time. And I think like 3 days in, I was sitting there and I was like all by myself. And I think it was lunch and like everybody had just disappeared. And I just like cried. And I was like, I'm old and I don't know what I'm doing. And I keep burning myself. And it's like scary. And like the zapping noise. And like I was just
Mhm,
so stressed. And I was like, I just felt so alone. Um, but I'm also pretty good at making friends. So, I started talking to a few people and I was like, hey, like, can I tag along? And they were like, oh my God, yeah, like come with us. And I was like, okay, thank you. And I was also, I think, one of 2 to 3 people that didn't smoke in the class, like cigarettes.
mhm.
So when everybody's on smoke break and you're like, you don't smoke. And so you're just like either hanging out or like, do you sit in the class? And like, I don't know, it was like weird, but yeah.
Yeah,
Still now,
and
like,
like the
people go on
teachers
smoke
even
break, and
smoke,
I'm like,
right?
"Do I tag along?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't smoke, but I'll stand there and hold my breath, like, so
Just get like I don't know, start vaping. I don't know, is that cool? I don't
yeah,
know. I
right?
don't know how that
Just
works.
fake it. Yeah, have a little fake one. Popeye sticks or something, like,
Hey man, those are delicious. I remember,
right?
I don't even know, can you even buy them anymore? Like I thought they were gonna get outlawed because it was like too much like real smoking for kids.
It's just a stick. It's white. It doesn't even have, like, a filter look on it or something.
But
Like,
it's
if it
got the red thing on the end, like the fire end.
did they? I thought they were
Mhm.
just pure white sticks.
If you actually, the last time I bought them, I looked, and on the end of the stick, there's
Well,
like
then just
painted
stop
red.
dyeing the end red, and then you can sell
But
them.
but then it's not a Popeye smoke.
Mm.
So, was the program just like a 1 year program, in and out and off to apprenticeship,
Um,
or how did it
I
work?
believe it was 10 months, but you kind of went at your own pace. So I finished it in 8 months.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I had to come back for grad. So
Yeah. And were you able to find a job right away?
yeah, actually I was like in school and somebody walked in and they talked to our teacher or whatever, and they're like, I need somebody. And he kind of looked around the room and he's like, who's close to being done? And I was like, I could be done in a week. And the guy's like, okay, good. Like, come in for an interview. And honestly, he didn't even interview me really. He was kind of just like show up, and I was like, okay, I'll be there. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And that's actually what I hear from colleges all across Canada right now. I don't know what it's like in the US or around the world, but right now in Canada, I would say 90% of the welders I know have work. Very few I know are unemployed.
Yeah.
And the ones that are unemployed, I'm not sure what's, that's sometimes a magic answer. I'll have
Mhm.
taught someone 5 or 6 years ago, and I'll be like, I can't find a job, and I'll rack my brain, being like, I wonder why,
Yeah.
because you never know why some
Yeah.
people can't find jobs. Because I remember them being like pretty good students, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then some students that were terrible, they're
Yeah.
working just fine, like
Yeah.
they,
I'd
so
say
who
right
knows?
before the pandemic in Winnipeg, there was like a real slowdown, and like I still have group chats from school that we all still communicate, and um people were looking for work and there was just nothing. And but in the last 2 years, like, yeah, if you can't find a job, it's like, what are you doing wrong? Like, what's wrong with you then? Like, because you can kind of throw a stick and find a job. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're looking for work everywhere, like right from coast to coast to coast. Like, man, I've been hearing like, in the prairies, everyone's looking for work on the east coast, and Navy or the naval ships and shipping yards are looking, automotive's looking in Ontario, nuclear's looking,
Yeah.
oil and gas is looking, green energy in Alberta's looking. We got propane and helium in Saskatchewan, and then we got BC shipyards just announced that they need a pile of workers. I was like, holy, like the whole country's just rolling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you do when you finished school? What kind of work did you get into?
My first job was making swimming pools out of shipping containers. Um,
That sounds awesome.
it was a good job. It was a very cool job. Um,
I think I saw those on your Instagram. You have
that
pictures of
was a
those, don't
different
you?
company, but it was the
Okay.
same work. Yeah.
So you mean there's more than one company that makes swimming pools out of shipping containers?
In in Canada, there's about four. In Winnipeg, we're two of them. So
Really? Wow.
yeah.
Well, there's a side gig I should get into. Jeez. I even know where to get shipping containers for cheap. Maybe I can be number five.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a really cool job. I had a really cool team. And then yeah, the business it didn't work out, I guess. And so we all went our separate ways. And then I did some line work. Most of the welding in Manitoba is line work in shops
Hmm.
making agricultural equipment. There's a few different really big companies that do it. And honestly, that's pretty soul crushing work to me. I can't stand it for long periods of time, like months wise. So I got really depressed doing that for a few months, and I was wondering if I hated welding or if I just hated the job. And um, I was almost looking at quitting. And then I think I did. I think I was just reaching out to everybody, and I was like, I need a new job, like someone
Hmm.
help me. And so then a friend set me up with a different interview, and I was living on my own. I had finally got my own apartment. And I was like broke because I was paying for everything myself, even with welding work. And
Hmm.
because I had the schooling agreement, I had to pay half of it back. They would
Okay.
cover all of it first, and then I'd pay half back. So I had all these school payments. I was still paying for nursing and all these things. So I was pretty broke. So this guy was like, I'll pay you 50 cents more. That's all I can do right now than what these guys are paying you. And I was like, yep, I'll get out because I hate this job anyways.
Hmm.
And then that was a good job. We made like door frames and stuff, and it was always kind of a little bit different. So it wasn't quite line work. Like it
Hmm.
was a little different. And
Yeah.
the people were nicer, and so I like loved it again. And I was like, oh, okay, like I didn't hate welding, I just hated that job. Like,
Yeah.
so
I
that was
and you
nice.
and you go through that in your career throughout life. I had a job that I ended up, and it's like a half and half thing, because looking back, it was a good job, and I even tell people to go work for that company because it was like a good job. But I remember I was there a few years, and I just started to hate it. And
Yeah.
I was like, I remember one day I like pulled over on the way to work, like at 6 in the morning, to like cry because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to, I
I
don't
just
want to
don't want
go
to be
there.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't want to go. Like I just literally want to just turn my car around and go home, but I
Yeah.
can't because I got like bills to pay. I got like,
Yeah. And
and like I mean, how you start feeling guilty because it's like I make twice as much money as like most of my friends, and I'm like
yeah.
bitching about work. Like I should
Yeah.
just suck it up.
Yeah.
But I bounced. New job, felt awesome again.
Yeah. Yeah, you just need that change of scenery, and yeah,
Hmm.
you're like, yeah, it wasn't the welding.
Yeah, and agricultural work is tricky, but man, kudos to the people that can do it. I know
Yeah.
people that have been working in manufacturing for decades, 20, 30 years, and they work
Uh,
on the line and they build their parts every day and they do it well. And you know what? Kudos to them because I can't. But
yeah.
we need those people. We need them because
Yeah.
or else our economy would grind to a halt if we didn't have those people working, right? Like,
Yeah. The one girl that I went to school with, Emma, she drives, I think, like probably an hour and 45 minutes or something to work every day. She lives way out in this area, Lactabani. It's like cabin country, basically.
mhm.
So she ain't hurt when she goes home. She lives in a beautiful area, but she drives so far every day to go to this manufacturing job. And she's worked there since the day she's left school. And I'm just like, good for you, girl. Like, it's just,
Mhm.
yeah, it's not the most, I don't know, fabulous job, but it pays her bills obviously, and she'll make that drive every day. And I'm just like, you're so tough. Like, she's so cool. You should
Yeah.
interview her. Like, she's
Well,
cool.
send me your information. I definitely
Yeah.
will. And there's something to be said about steady hours, good pension, good benefits, and you're home at the same time every day,
Yeah.
right? Because in my world with traveling and my overseas work and my company, and man, I don't even know when I'm not working. Like all the people that know me, like my close friends, they'll like call me to be like, "Hey, are you free next week for an hour so we can go for a beer?" Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
sometimes am very jealous of the 9 to 5ers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That they just know their schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a good time to take our break. We'll take a little commercial break here with for our sponsors, and then we'll come back and talk about your career now and what's going on in your life and Jenna's life. So, all the people tuning in, thanks for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick break here. And we're back here on the CWB Association podcast. I'm Max Ceron with you, and we have Jenna Nowicki here from Winnipeg, Manitoba, telling us about her career. And you bounced, you tried a few things, you've had a few different styles of work. You got line work, a little bit of custom fab, some overhead doors. Actually, I've done that too. It's weird. We have like weird mirrored lives here right now. So, and now right before the break, we were talking about where you kind of landed. So, you
Yeah.
know, after that, where did your career start going? Did you go back to school and finish your second and third year? What happened, or did you after the overhead
Um,
door? Where did you go?
this next part is for all the people in charge of welding stuff in Manitoba. I don't know who to talk to, who's at the top, but
Hmm.
you cannot get your level 2 and 3 in Winnipeg. You have to go either to Brandon, which is 2 hours away, or to Thompson or the Paw. I believe the Paw, which is even farther away.
Yeah, that's like six
Um,
hours.
yeah. So to get your level 2 and 3 in like Winnipeg, like when you live in Winnipeg, it's very hard. Like it's not easy. So really nobody does it. Most of us just work it comes up to like 4.5 years, and then you would challenge your red seal.
Hmm.
But also in Winnipeg, because most of the work in and around Winnipeg is line work, there is no point in paying a red seal more money to do something that a first level is going to do. So there's no point to get your red seal really, because you're honestly, it can hurt you on your resume because they're like, oh, they're going to want more money. Like, we don't want them. So unless you plan on traveling with welding, there's no reason to get your red seal in Winnipeg. And that's kind of disappointing. Um, and I don't really know anybody that's gone and done it. I think one person I went to school with like ended up doing it, but most of us just don't bother. Like, you're gonna get paid the same anyways. So, and each
Hmm.
CWB test is a couple $100. So, like, unless your company is paying for you to do them, like, you're not going out and getting those tickets yourself, just because most
Just to have
companies
them. Yeah.
don't care anyways. Like, they're just like,
Yeah.
I don't care, just do this line work. It's all flat. Like New Flyer here will flip a whole bus upside down just so you don't have to overhead weld, because they don't trust you to overhead weld, and they don't want to ticket you and do all that stuff. They're like, you know what, we'll just turn the whole bus upside down and you can do it flat. And it's like, okay, sure. Like, so yeah, like,
And that's really good for you to say that. I sit in meetings like at the government level all the time with apprenticeship and the Canadian Center for Directors of Apprenticeship, the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, all these apprenticeship groups, and they're always like, why don't we have more red seals? We'll have 10,000 level ones and only 500 red seals come
Well,
out of
and
that.
none of the red seals usually stay in Winnipeg, so there is no one to apprentice you. So,
Hmm.
like, I think MacDon says they have a 5-year wait list to apprentice. It's like, well, at that point, I'll just challenge the red seal. Not like at that point, I could challenge it. There'd be no point apprenticing after that. Like, if the wait
Hmm.
list is 5 years, like, so yeah, all the red seals leave because that's where the money is. It's elsewhere, and then yeah, so then
Yeah, and that's disheartening because industries keep saying we need more welders, and then the apprenticeship stream of Canada federally is saying we need more welders, we need more welders, and we need more red seals to elevate the welding trades.
yeah,
But then the reality is who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay these red seals what they deserve to make,
yeah,
right? Because the unions will, but the unions protect their numbers. They have X number of numbers for their membership,
yeah.
and that's fair. That's how they run their
I
business.
don't
That's
know
how.
anybody that's gotten into the union here. Like, it's full. They're not looking like
Hmm.
Boilermakers, yes. But like the
Iron
iron
workers, pipe
workers,
fitters,
like
yeah.
they're not looking, they don't want you, like don't bother. So
Yeah, and,
yeah,
and, and it can be tough because they have a really tight system, and that's how they protect their work, and that's how they protect to make sure that they have enough people for the jobs and vice versa. And I get it. So
yeah,
you look at private industry, and like say a manufacturing company, company X makes blah blah blah. They're crying, well, we need 1,000 welders. Okay, fair. When you need 1,000 welders, but you're gonna hire 1,000 welders. You're gonna find 1,000 people will apply. Of those 1,000 people that apply, 500 will be level ones, 250 will be level twos, 100 will be level threes, and some will have no apprenticeship whatsoever.
yeah,
You're probably going to take all the level ones. You're probably going to take all the people with no experience whatsoever, maybe a level two if you're willing to convince them to work less. And you're not even going to talk to the Red Seals because you want just line work, like you said.
yeah,
Well, are you actually helping the industry then? Like, because as soon as these people get hired by you, are you going to let them go back to school? Are you going to indenture them? Are you going to do their hours? Are you going to let them get their Red Seals? And are you going to pay them when they get their Red Seal?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's got to go both ways. We can't just be crying for more welders unless we actually show people that this is the proper stream. Now,
yeah.
on the other hand, people on the outside could say, well, if you want to make more money, just leave.
Yeah,
And
and
that's,
that's what I've heard a lot
yeah.
of. They're like, okay, well
Hmm.
then go to Alberta. And I'm like that just doesn't fit everyone's lifestyle.
No, no,
Like, not
absolutely not.
everyone can just pick up and leave. And honestly, I've lived that life. I worked on the in the oil rigs, and it's just like
It's
I
not for
get it.
everybody.
I'm only 28, but like
Hmm.
I'm tired of that. I don't want to live that life anymore. I did it when I was young and I got it over with. And it's like I don't want to live out of a hotel and eat out of a hot plate and a microwave. Like that's not good for my health and my life.
Hmm.
Like so I'm sorry that I want to be at home, but
Yeah, I'm the same way.
and I don't have family in Alberta. I don't have connections there or anything that would
So
help
it's
me
all
there. And
strangers. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of the like the businesses out there, like it is kind of you need to know somebody. You need to go be someone's helper before you get to be a welder. So who do you
Hmm.
know out there? And I come from a family of electricians, not welders. So I don't know welders. Like I don't have any connections there. And so it's like, yeah, like
It's disheartening and it's tough. Like, I'm not a road person either. I've done road work. I worked on the road, and I should say this like, as a caveat: I love traveling for work, but not as a welder. I love
yeah,
traveling for work as a teacher. I love traveling for work as where my career has gone as a consultant and doing stuff
yeah,
like that. That's awesome. But when I was younger and I'd go work as a welder, minus 30 on my back underneath a pipe with
yeah,
soaking wet and freezing cold. No, thanks. I'm done with that.
yeah,
And even shutdown work, like before I got married, I wanted to have a really big wedding. So I went and picked up a bunch of shutdown work over the summer, working at
yeah,
mines, because it's easy money, right? You make,
yeah,
5, 7 grand a week.
yeah.
But I couldn't do that forever. Like, I mean, after
Yeah,
one summer, I was done. I was like, oh, I never want to do that again. Like,
honestly, it's like nursing. It takes a special kind of person. It's just
hmm,
there are
hmm.
people that love that life
Yeah.
and that is them. And it just I'm sorry I'm not that person. Like, can you blame me for that?
No,
So
and you shouldn't be, I guess you shouldn't be held back. A welder shouldn't be held back because they don't choose that life. Because if you can go on the road and make 100 grand a year, then why can't the welder who's at home make 100 grand a year?
and
Like,
like
I mean,
I'm not opposed to like out of town work in Manitoba. Like if they're like, "Oh, can you just like go up for, a couple days or a week or something?" I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, I could do that. I could go do a job or something like that." But when it's like, "Can you go two provinces over and, live there for a month or 3 weeks and come home for one and then in that 1 week it took you, what, a day of travel, you do your laundry for 2 days, you sleep, and then you're back and you're going back." And it's like, well, what was the point? I should have
yeah,
just
or you're
stayed
going to
there,
another
like
province and you're meeting a whole new different crew and running through a
exactly,
whole
and
nother
so
2 days of OH&S and safety
yeah,
training.
it's just like that road life, like the permanent road life
Mm.
is just it's hard, and yeah, I just didn't wanna live that life.
Yeah, and see, that's where most of the red seals are.
Yeah, and yeah,
You know,
I mean,
and
yeah.
that's I think not
I
smart.
wish
Like, I
I
mean,
wish someone would have warned me before I had chosen welding that it would be that it's not a Manitoba trade. Like, it is because, we do have, like, the line work and
manufacturing,
stuff, the
yeah.
manufacturing, but the money is not made in welding in Manitoba. I think other trades do a lot better in Manitoba, and I do love welding, like, I'm glad I picked it, but
Mhm.
I think maybe I
It's not
would have
about the
done
money.
millwright or something where it's like I still get to weld,
Mhm.
but, there's more opportunity to grow. Like, line work, they don't want you to move up. It's just that's what it is,
Yeah,
like,
that's how
you
they
know?
exist and compete, yeah.
Yeah, so you're not meant to move up at those companies. Like maybe you'll be like just the manager of an area or something, but like I look for growth. Like I am a person that
Mhm.
constantly is looking to grow, and that's why like at the last company I just worked at, like Box Pools, that's where all the pool pictures you see are. Like I was the manager, I was the lead welder, I ran that shop. It was my baby. I loved it. Like I just, I put my heart and soul into it, and like that's what I wanted. Like I didn't want to go into work every day and just like me, like that's,
Sounds like
and
you're running
honestly,
Pulse.
I envy the artists because I'm not an artistic person and I see these people like Ray, Ripple and stuff,
Mhm.
and like they can weld and then that's where their growth is and they do art and stuff and I'm like, "Oh, I'd love that, but I don't have an artistic eye." Like I
Yeah,
don't,
you've probably
know.
heard me say that too. I don't either. I can build things for people, but it's like functional. And like
Yeah.
I try to do a little like art.
You try to make it look nice, but,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's not like, "Oh my god, this, like, work of art," and you're just
Yeah, it's
like
not like
like
like,
yeah,
Ray or, I've had all these crazy artists, Lewis, Fred, all these crazy Ivan.
yeah.
They look at a pile of steel and like they're like, "Oh, that's a dragon flying out of an egg." It's like,
Yeah, like,
"What?"
the people that do, like, the horse heads and the, like, and you're just like, "Oh my god," like
See, I look at a pile of steel and I think, "Hmm, I can make a table." I don't know,
right,
just
right, yeah, that's me. Like, I
just
could
like the
design you a
simplest thing.
cool table, like yeah, yeah,
Just totally just like simple, basic stuff.
yeah, yeah,
So
so
where are you working now then? So
I am
are you
currently
welding right
laid
now?
off. I'm laid
Mhm.
off. I'm doing some kind of just helping around work actually with an electrical company just because I need some money. And a friend was like, "Hey,
Mhm.
I got a friend that needs help. So, go help them." So I've been working with those guys for now, and they've been really good to me and stuff. I'm kind of in a funny spot where I have about 15 1,500 hours until I could try and get my red seal. So it's about a year and a half of work ish.
Mhm.
So I'm debating if I want to go back and find a welding job and get my red seal. But then I'm having that debate of like, but is it worth it? Or do I maybe want to
Switch careers or something?
switch to not fully careers, but yeah, like to a different trade. It would still be in the
Mhm.
trades, but
Like
maybe
you said, maybe
electrical.
millwright or something?
Millwright or electrical or plumbing were probably my
Mhm.
top 3. Millwrights, I don't wanna, like, talk myself down, but, like, I don't think I'm smart enough. Like, I used to walk by the millwright class, and I saw the chalkboard, and
A lot of
or the
math. There's a lot of
whiteboard,
math.
and I saw the math, and I was like, "Mm-mm, no." Like,
Yeah.
I am smart in my own ways, but math is not one of them. So I was
My
like,
s my second red seal was a steel fab, and it's all math. And
Yeah.
I've had lots of friends be like, "Oh, I want to get my steel fab ticket." It's like, yeah, man, go for it. For steel fab, you just need hours. There's no practical test. It's just a written test, but
Oh,
it's like
okay.
3.5 hours of math. If you're
Yeah.
willing to sit down and do math for 3.5 hours, go for it.
I'd be
Not too many
crying
people are.
then. 5 minutes in, I'd be crying. Yeah. No, that would not be me. So, plumber, honestly, because back when I worked at Sally's, this girl used to come in all the time and she would buy whatever she wanted. And like stuff was not cheap at that store. And she
Mhm.
was beautiful. And finally, one day we were like, "What do you do for a living?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm a plumber. Like, I'm covered in shit all week and I look gorgeous on the weekends." And we were like, okay. And that was probably one of the things that sold me at the time, too. I was like, I need to
Mhm.
get into trades. Like, so plumber, I was thinking about it, but I also replaced my toilet recently and I was like, do I want to do this for a living? Like, I don't know. This is my toilet. This is fine, but other people's and that's not even the worst of it. Like they get worse. So I also, yeah, considered electrician. But one thing about plumbing and electrician is a lot of crawl spaces and like
Tight, tight
my
spaces. Yeah.
kryptonite, my weakness is mice. Like I quit a welding
Oh.
job actually after about half a shift because they had a dead mouse in their break room. And I was like, I'm out. Thank you. Have a good day. I'm so glad we did this on the first day so we could get this out of the way.
How can you hate mice in the prairies? They're everywhere.
Kill
They're
me.
literally, we're surrounded by fields and fields of mice.
My mom used to get my dad to go under the house and mouse proof. We lived in a trailer, so he would go under the
Hmm.
trailer and mouse proof it every fall and steel wool and all that everywhere, traps and we never had mice and it was a 20-year-old trailer and it was
Yeah, you got to be on it. I get one or
yeah,
two mice in my house every year, right at the beginning of
burn the
winter. When
house down.
yeah, no, my wife, she's out. Like one time we actually heard the trap go off, and we were like watching TV. She's like, "What was that?" I'm like, "Well, I think it was a mouse trap." She was like, "Out the door." She was like,
Yeah,
"I'm
I
out."
do,
Like,
yeah.
see.
I rush. I'll come back next week, maybe. No, like I'm out. Yeah. So yeah, it's
Well,
and I get it from my mom. Like she
mhm.
had it, and she grew up on a farm. So don't even ask me where. Like, ugh, so yeah, I don't do
Well,
mice. So I watch all these people go into crawl spaces, and I'm like, could I do that, or would I end up quitting on the first day again?
well, you
Like,
can't quit if you're gonna switch.
I
You
know,
gotta
that's
tough
the
it out.
thing. Commit.
Yeah.
So,
So, in my opinion, my completely unprofessional,
mm,
not important to you at all opinion, is that you should just get your red seal and then even switch, because once
yeah,
you got it, you got it. It's forever,
yeah,
right? It's not like a ticket where it expires in 2 years. Your red seal endorsement is forever, and who knows,
yeah,
down the line something happens and you need a job, and hey, there's a
yeah,
welding job. The
yeah,
only thing is, it is disheartening to hear that Manitoba doesn't have much work for the Red Seal trades. I mean, as a Red Seal welder, it's a lot easier to get into the unions as well. Just as a side
yeah,
note,
yeah,
um, like I mean, that's how I permitted. So I'd go do permit work, and permit work is actually not that common anymore. Where
yeah,
you're not a part of the union, you just show up at the union hall and be like, "Here's my tickets, here's my endorsements. What do you
yeah,
got?" And they'll be like, "Okay, well, we're short on this one job. We'll send you
mm,
on like a temp contract."
yeah,
And so that's what I would do for extra cash. And there's people that can do that like all year long. I wouldn't want to do that, but
yeah.
you
Yeah, the
know,
only red seal work I've ever seen that like required that you have it was like CN and CP, like the
hmm
train.
yeah,
And
anything federal is gonna need red
yeah,
seal.
that's the only one I've ever really seen. So
There was that huge airplane company in Winnipeg that went under, that closed up shop. Bombardier, wasn't that in Winnipeg? They had
ooh,
a big
maybe.
shop years ago. I don't know whether, and I know most of it's like, I mean, New Flyer's huge in Manitoba, but that's all just line work. That's all just
Yeah.
manufacturing, yeah, right?
Yeah. And manufacturing, I just like I don't think I'll survive if I do manufacturing. I think I'll either end up just bouncing around from like place to place or
Hmm.
I'll just,
Well, you
get
know how I survived manufacturing? Because Saskatchewan's not much different. In Saskatchewan, it's either manufacturing or mining.
yeah.
Pick, right? You
Yeah.
pick your poison. And I did mining work for a while, and I really enjoyed working for shops building mining equipment because it's new every
Yeah.
day and it's big stuff, and it was really fun. But then I ended up getting laid off because it got slow, and I had to go pick up manufacturing work. Which
Yeah.
at first I was like, "How am I going to survive this?" And the only way I got through it is by getting off the floor. So I went and got some more schooling, and I became a manager. And like
Yeah.
then it was fun because
Yeah.
now I'm like, because then manufacturing is more like like a game plan, because you're not actually
Yeah.
just welding. You're like, okay, well, I need 30 of these and 60 of those, and I got to think about what staff is in and ordering materials and the flow of the shop. And I
Yeah.
really got into that side of it. That made manufacturing fun again for me, because
Yeah.
then it was more like a chess game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
just as far as buzzing the
Honestly,
welder,
I feel like we're the same. Like manufacturing, it's almost like it's a type B personality where they have to be very laid back because there are people that enjoy it and they're like, I like
hmm
doing the same thing every day. I know what I come into every day
hmm
and I know what it's going to be. It's never stressful. Like maybe once in a while they're like, hey, I need this done right away. But I do my number every day and that's good.
hmm
But type A people, it's just like, I need something more. I need to be stimulated. Like
hmm
I can't do the mundane. Like it gets just, yeah.
yeah, I'll zone out, or I'll start doing
Yeah.
something else. I'll just be like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. And they never let you wear headphones. Like if at least if you let me have some music or something, maybe. But like
it's a safety violation.
I know that
I have this fight all
okay,
the
a
time.
radio, a small radio that's
So I'm
quiet.
okay with the small radio in the
No.
shop under
But
a
I
certain
get
volume.
moving around shops with earphones. I don't like that. But yeah, just like a small radio. Like have mercy, like we're
Every shop
doing
I've
this.
ever managed, I've allowed radios. Every
Yeah.
shop I've managed, every crew I've managed, I've allowed radios, because I am a stickler for no headphones. I saw a
Yeah.
guy die at work once when I was younger,
Yeah.
and I think that maybe if he would have been able to hear better, he might have not.
Mhm.
And I think about that, just in my
Yeah.
day. I see someone wearing music, and
Yeah.
like, what if something's fallen and I have to yell
Yeah.
and he doesn't hear me? I would feel like really bad.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's
but
fair.
but
I
music
agree.
is fun. I like music. It
Yeah.
helps me. It helps me focus. You
Yeah,
know,
it makes the day move a little bit more and yeah.
a little more
So,
pizzazz. As long
yeah.
as it's not country station. Sorry, all country lovers out there, but
I don't mind country.
I don't mind it. But 8 hours of it,
That's
that gets
fair.
long. That gets
Yeah.
long.
No,
Just put on
that's
the pop
fair.
station. It's
I
just,
you know what?
you
I've
know,
been in shops where it's metal all day, and it just feels like you're getting yelled at all day by
yeah, that
somebody,
gets
and
long.
you're just
Or else,
like,
yeah,
"Oh," like
it's like, do I have a Czechoslovakian, like
yeah,
foreign?
yeah, yeah, just yeah, and like the guitar's not even like there's no rhythm, it's like and you're just like, "Oh my God, like this
Okay,
is
so I
all
love
day?
to I love
Okay."
to play metal. It's funny. I love to play metal,
Oh,
but
sorry, you were a metal art. I want to install that.
but I totally would not do that at work. I would not go to work and put on it 10 hours of metal for staff. Like, I mean, that's what I listen to in
I've
my
been
car
in
when
a
I'm
few
trying,
shops, yeah.
yeah, where I want to de-stress. I always say that, if we're gonna fight about the radio's gone, right? Like, you
Yeah.
can't have people fighting over radio. So you just put on, every city has that generic radio station that
Yeah,
just
just that
plays
like
the same crap every day.
yeah,
That's the one that you get,
yeah.
because
It
they'll
kind of
do a
does
little
like
bit
the
of everything.
80s to the
Mhm.
2000s. It just kind of covers it. You're like, this is where we are, okay?
Yeah,
Like
good enough.
everybody gets one song an hour that they're like, oh, I kind of like this one.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for yourself now, you're on Instagram, Pink Fire Welds. You're, you say you like to do custom builds, and you got some pretty cool
Yeah.
pictures. You looks like you like your truck. Did you put a
I just
flatbed on
did
your
some
truck?
body work on my truck, and I
Yeah.
have to say, I was so scared. I was putting off for so long because I was so scared. I'm like, I'm gonna ruin this, and I'm gonna, everyone's warning me, don't warp it, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay. And I did so good. I was like, yes, girl. Like
Yeah, you
it
just
turned
take your
out
time
good.
with body work. Remember that it's thin
Yeah,
steel. Don't get it too hot.
yeah,
And Bondo hides everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just got the safety approved yesterday, so I haven't gotten the
Oh,
full paperwork yet, but it's gonna get registered and hopefully the next week, and I will switch over because my poor car is just like it sounds awful. It's
yeah.
not doing good, so especially in the cold. So
So what's your plans now? Like, you said you're looking at different trades. You're thinking about,
yeah,
maybe trying something else out. You know, like me, you said you're not much of an artistic person, but you like doing the custom builds.
yeah.
Would you ever think about maybe getting into business for yourself? Maybe a little bit of side hustle welding, like
I
using
thought
the
about
skill
it.
for something?
Yeah, I do own my own welder. I have a few pictures of it on my Instagram. My old ASAB. It's like as old as me. I love it.
Mm.
It works beautifully. Um, so I got to put a plug in my garage for it. But I would definitely do that. I don't want to put welding away forever. I don't think I could. I do really enjoy it. Like I used to live out in the country and my neighbor would come over. He was an older guy and he'd get me to do little things for him. And like, I loved it. And he'd be like, that's a nice weld. And I was like, yeah, like, like it just, that's fun stuff. Like I like
Hmm.
doing that. I've even kind of walked around my neighborhood and I live in a very old area, so there's a lot of really old metal gates and stuff. And I was like, I could leave a business card in your mailbox to be like, I could fix that for you, honey. Like,
Hmm.
it's looking a little worse for wear. And yeah, so I'd probably do a little bit of side stuff, especially in the summer. I'd have to insulate my garage if I'm gonna do winter stuff, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but and I think I do want to get my red seal in welding, but I think I want to also maybe do some electrical for a while, just because their apprenticeship is so streamlined and it's just you're in and out of school, you're in work. There's no floating around. It's 4 years and you're done kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very
So
streamlined. Yeah.
yeah, so I know with the electrical, you have 10 years to complete your apprenticeship. I assume welding is the same, like for collecting your hours, you get 10 years. I don't know if you know.
No, I
I don't
don't
know. I
know.
haven't seen anything on it.
I challenged for
Um,
both my red seals like a dummy. So.
yeah, so like I just need basically a year and a half of more work to get those hours. So I think I'm gonna do some electrical for a while. I either maybe will go the full way and get that red seal and get it out of the way, and then go and get my welding one again, go back to welding for a bit. But I want both. I think I want
Hmm.
both. And I think that's just because I'm a freaking do-gooder that likes to be a nerd and wants more all the time. So I want two red seals. Like,
Well,
it's
and the future now, like I've been talking to lots of young people, and dual red seal is kind of where we're at now to get
yeah,
top end jobs. Like if
yeah.
you're looking at the over 100K jobs, you kind of have to have two red seals now. Like it's not like one's
Yeah.
not enough.
And electrical and welding, like, they're not completely related, but they're not so far apart where it would be like welding and plumbing, where it's like, what are you gonna do with those two? Maybe a little bit of a pipe work, I don't know. But
There's
like
lots with welding
there's
and electrical. Like you got to put
yeah,
hangers in, you got to put brackets in, weld boxes up. There's lots you can
yeah.
do. Yeah.
So I think they would maybe go nice hand in hand. So I don't know exactly in what order I'm gonna do it. I think right now I'm gonna keep going with the electrical just because these guys are so nice and they
Hmm.
keep telling me, come on, like get your apprenticeship papers in, like we'll apprentice you and stuff. So it's nice to feel wanted sometimes. So I'm like,
For
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
maybe I'll stick with you guys. To be fair, electricians get paid as at least as first year apprentices so much less than welders, like painfully less than welders. So it will be a hard year to maybe 2 years to get even back up to what I was making as a welder. But I do know after 4 years, I will make more as an electrician than I think I could as a welder in Manitoba. And that's kind of unfortunate. Like the pay cuts out pretty early in Manitoba for a welder unless you're super specialized or like,
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know,
That's tough.
just
I
lucky.
don't like hearing welders not making lots of money. That's not
Yeah.
the game. We're
So,
supposed to
which
make lots of
to be
money.
fair, like to retail me, that's a lot of money. Like welders make a lot of money in Manitoba compared to someone that makes minimum wage. But to the other trades, no. Like
Hmm.
at least the ones that I've seen, like
Yeah.
millwright, electrician, plumber, like
And top dollar should be around the same, within a few
yeah.
dollars for everybody.
Yeah, and it's like $10 if not more.
Yeah,
Like
that's huge.
so, yeah.
Well, we got to fix that. We got to fix that.
Yeah.
We got to make welding more lucrative in Manitoba somehow.
Yes. That would be nice.
All right, so we're at the end of the show here. This has been
Yeah.
super fun.
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of like a mini me.
Yeah.
A lot of the same jobs and stuff.
Samesies. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what would you give for advice? What's the piece of advice that Jenna would give to someone? Maybe let's put someone in your situation. Someone that's thinking about leaving welding. Let's say
Yeah.
you've welded for a few years and you're not sure. What would you give them as a piece of advice? And you're kind of in the same pickle now. What would you say to
Um
someone who's just kind of lost?
To women, I always say pick trades, any trade you want. I don't care what it is, but pick a trade because it will make you financially independent. And being financially independent means you get to make choices with a clear head and not choices that rely on someone
Hmm.
else or you relying on someone else. And that's always just anytime I ever talk, like I'm going to be talking at an event in March, and that is going to be my key thing. I've talked at other events, and that is my main thing I like to push just to women because that's the crowd I'm talking to. Um, take a trade because you will be financially independent, and that is the best thing you can be. Like, not just for like, oh, Sephora and whatever, but to be
Whatever
able
the
to
hell you
stand
want.
on your
Yeah.
own and live on your own, like
Mhm.
that that is just freedom. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good lesson for the term empowerment. People always throw that term around, empowerment,
Yeah.
and there's a few things that create power. Education creates power, but money does too. And
Yeah.
people try to like downplay that. It's like, no, no, no. It's pretty important to be financially stable, because
Yeah.
when you're unstable financially, people can control you. People can
Yeah.
do things to you, and there's nothing
Yeah.
you can say about it.
And
Or
sometimes you have to make choices, even that, yeah, like even if it's
Mhm,
not relying on someone else, but you're like, I can't afford to do this. So I have to take the lesser version, or like I'm buying the used car because I can't afford the new car, but that used car is going to cost you more in the long run with all the fixing to it. And so it's like the difference, like, a mortgage payment is less than rent payment, but people can't get mortgages because you need that giant down payment. It's just this gatekeeping, keeping people out of buying houses and getting mortgages. So you can't afford $750 mortgage. We're going to make you pay $1,200 for rent. Like,
mhm.
so I would just, I don't want women stuck in that situation. Like, get your down payment, buy your house, pay your tiny mortgage, live by yourself, and like
and,
whatever,
and and
like,
then just the sky's the limit. Just go
yeah,
up from
and
there.
do
Yeah.
whatever you want. Like, just,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
Well, that's awesome, Jenna. I love that advice. I feel like everyone should be following that advice, men and women, and everyone in our
mhm,
communities, but especially the people that feel that they maybe don't have the choices that they wish they did. And
yeah.
let's hope that they get into the trades, any trade, like you said, and I'm going to push the steel
And
trades, but
like, you said education is freedom and stuff as well. University costs money. There are so many government programs that will pay for your trade. Like,
oh,
like
like
that is
up,
how I did
yeah,
it. There was no way I could have done it without the government program. Like, I would still be
there
working
is
retail,
so much money in Canada right now for getting people into the
especially for
trades.
women and minorities. Like,
Mhm. People of color, yeah,
yeah,
immigrants, yeah,
yeah,
everything.
like,
Get out there, get into school, get your trade. Most
yeah,
trade programs are under a year, and you're gonna be
yeah,
out there making money.
yeah, yeah. Just look on government websites. Just Google, the
Mhm.
trade and government funding, and you will find something.
Yeah, or just walk into your nearest trade school and go talk to the
Yeah,
counselor.
yeah,
Say, "Hey, I wanna take a trade. What bursaries
yeah,
or grants are going on right now?" And they'll tell
yeah,
you, "Oh yeah, well there's this and this and this and this," and
yeah.
and they'll walk you through it. Just quick story to finish the show. Just I remember like 5 or 6 years ago, I had this cute little Indian guy from India. He just showed up, and he was in my welding class. It's like first day of school, and it's like, oh yeah, tell me where you're from, blah blah blah. We had a group of these Indian guys, a couple group of I think these guys were from somewhere in West Africa, and then like the local, there's a couple Caucasian kids and whatever. And
Mhm.
everyone's like, I want to be a welder. My dad was a welder, or I have an uncle, or just I would like working with my hands. Everyone's got like these neat little like I want to be welder stories.
Yeah.
And then it gets to this cute like Indian guy, and he's like little and shy, and it's like, what do you want to be? Like, why did you want to be a welder? He's like, no idea. And I was like, well, like, why? Like, not to be rude, but like, how did you end up in this class?
Yeah.
He's like, I was in India and I needed to get out of the country. I wanted to come to Canada, and I just went through like a list, and the only spot that was left was
Mhm.
welder. And
Yeah.
so I was like, "Oh, okay." So like that was just like your only ticket out. And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Do you know what welding is?" And he's like, "I have no idea." Like he's like, I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, we weld stuff like with heat. We put metal together, and like
Yeah.
we have these like metal tables." I'm like, "See how this table's put together? Like that's welding." And he's like, "Oh, is it hot?" I was like,
Like,
"Yeah, it's hot." And he's like, "Will I get burned?" And I was like, "Yes,
wear your
a little
gloves.
bit. Like you'll get a little
Yeah.
bit burned. It's
A
bound
spark
to happen."
always finds its way in.
Yeah, yeah, and the other students are kinda giggling, and and he wasn't taking it badly, but, he could tell, like, it was
Yeah.
kind of silly, and I was like, "Well, you're gonna get burned a little bit, but, don't be scared, it'll be fine." So the next day of school, it's like, we're gonna get on the tools, and he showed up, like, with, like, 2 sweaters on and, like,
Yeah.
jeans. He's, like, all, like, super worried about getting burned, and we were like, I think first day of school is we just like load up acetylene carts and
Mhm.
go through gauges and that stuff. And I light up the torch for them. It wasn't even them lighting it yet. It was just me lighting the
Yeah.
torch. And this kid all of a sudden just was like, "Excuse me," and goes out. So I kind of keep teaching, and then there's like a slow time, and I go out and I see him in the hallway, and I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "I'm really scared. Like I'm really, really scared of
Yeah.
welding." And I was like, "Well, then don't be a welder. Like let's figure this
Yeah.
out." So I walked him down to the counselors, and they were so easy for him. They're like, "Well, why are you here?" And he's like, "I just wanted to like come to Canada." And they're like, "Okay, well, we have a spot in plumbing. Do you know what plumbing is?" He's like, "That's like toilets and stuff." And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, he's like, "Is there fire?" Like, "Not really, not like that, not welding, just a little
Yeah.
bit." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So he switched over to
Yeah.
plumbing, and now he like last year he got his red seal in plumbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I
Yeah.
mean, any trade, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't, but you don't
Yeah.
know till
Just
you
have to be
try.
open to it, and yeah.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, people think that I'm, like, talking down because this kid took welding because he didn't know, but no, you know what?
Yeah.
This kid just went out on a limb, tried
Yeah.
something,
No,
and
he
you know what?
saw an
Didn't like it.
opportunity and he's like,
Yep,
this is an opportunity and I'm taking it.
yeah,
And yeah.
and it wasn't for him, but he switched, and he ended up being
Yeah.
happy, so that's the message there is, like, just get into a college, take a trade, and if you don't like it, you can switch. Even
Yeah.
if you do it for a few years and you don't like it, and you can
Yeah.
switch because 'cause you're gonna be making money while you think about it, so at least
Yeah.
you're not stuck. You know,
Yeah.
you're at least doing something, right?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, cool, Jenna. I'll make sure I follow you and know keep my eyes on what's going on. I'm in Winnipeg fairly often, so I might have to. If you see me heading out to Winnipeg, we'll have to
Yeah.
have a beer or something.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
All right.
cool. Well, and all the
Thanks for
listeners that
having
have been
me.
tuning in, thank you very much. Do you want to send any shout outs to anybody, Jenna? Anybody you want to say hi to?
My mom's always my biggest supporter, so I say hi, mom, because I know she's already bugging me. She's like, "When's it gonna be on?" And I'm like, "It's not live, mom. Like, it's I'll tell you when it's on." She's like, "Okay."
It'll
So
be on in about 3 weeks, and about
three
you'll get
weeks.
an email.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
All right.
I always try to say about 3 weeks in advance with my shows, and you'll get also a little swag bag from us. You're gonna get a little.
Thank
Someone
you.
should have reached out to you and gotten your address and stuff. Probably Daniela. You probably know who Daniela is.
I
You probably
know. I saw her name and I was like, "Ah, hey, girl!" So I was so
yeah. It's
excited.
kind of I get jelly because my staff is more famous than me, so it's like
No, everybody's excited to hear from them, though.
yeah. Everyone's like, oh my god, Daniela. It's like oh my god,
Yeah. Yeah,
she
she's
knows
cool.
everybody. So yeah, she's cool.
Yeah.
So she'll be reaching out to you and let you know when the show's coming up and all that stuff. So
Cool. Thank you.
awesome. Well, take care and thanks everyone for tuning in. Keep sharing and hitting that download button and let's keep the show rocking and rolling. We got lots of awesome guests coming up in the next few weeks. Jenna, you take care of yourself.
We hope you enjoy the show.